Hi there. I hope you and your families are in good health and ready to start today's session. Today we'll be briefly discussing some approaches to teaching reading. These are multiple strategy approaches. Unlike the strategies that we discussed earlier, like surveying or inferencing and so on, uh, these are, like I said, multiple strategy approaches. These approaches use a variety of strategies to teach reading. Uh, Most reading researchers agree that teaching a variety of reading strategies improves comprehension and recall of information from texts. Among these researchers, there is general agreement that instruction focusing on students' learning repertoires of strategies is more effective than individual strategy instruction. So, this means we should not be focusing on one or two types of strategies only. Many approaches involving multi-level or multiple strategies uh, tend to focus on a few, like 4 to 8 major strategies. But other approaches may include a wider range of multiple strategies. This week, I'll tell you very briefly about 5 of these multi-strategy approaches that have somehow been supported by research. The first of these multi-strategy approaches is KWL, know, want to know, learned, or the short form KWL. KWL is a 3-stage instructional process for understanding texts. The first one is, what do you know? Relying on your schemata, which we discussed before, your content as well as your formal schemata. Next is, what do you want to know? And finally, what have you learned from this reading? The approach encompasses many strategies. We can name such strategies as activating prior knowledge or activating your schemata, planning, goal setting, monitoring for key points, evaluating text information, and relating text information to reading goals. KWL is quite popular, but not much research has been carried out to see its actual effectiveness. So here is what happens in a class which is run using this method or this approach. In the what I know part, the students discuss what they already know about the topic in the text that they are supposed to be reading. The teacher has students list ideas and concepts related to the topic. Then he has them organize their ideas into broader categories. The next phase, that is want to learn, the students discuss what they want to learn from reading the text and write down specific questions they think may be answered in the text. And finally, the what I learned part is after the reading, of course. After reading the text, students discuss what they learned from it. They next write what they learned and answer some maybe student-generated questions about the topics that were addressed in the text. ETR stands for Experience Text Relate. This method was developed as part of the curriculum in Hawaii, which was called KEEP, K-W-E-E-P. With this approach, the teacher activates the student's background knowledge, promotes predictions about the text, and helps students monitor their comprehension of the text. The teacher also focuses on forming questions about a text, um, as well as evaluating the text and reflecting on the relation between the text information and personal experience through a sort of discussion. This approach, of course, is not as popular as KWL is. QAR stands for question-answer relationship. Students develop an awareness of how to relate text information to the types of questions posed. Question or answer relationship, QAR, is a questioning strategy, if you like, that emphasizes that the relationship exists between the question, the text, and the background knowledge of the reader. In this strategy, students are taught to use 4 questions or answer relationships to find the information they need to answer the question. The first of these is called right there questions. These are literal questions whose answers can be found in the text. Often, the words used in the question are the same words found in the text. In a sense, learners can lift the answer right from the passage. These can be statement questions, as the answer is directly stated in the passage. So we can see students need to use their knowledge of scanning. Next, think and search questions. Answers are gathered from several parts of the text and put together to make meaning. This is a kind of synthesis skill. I mean, students need to get the answer from different parts of the text rather than just a simple part. Then, author and you. These questions are based on information provided in the text, but the student is required to relate it to their own experience. Although the answer does not lie directly in the text, the student must have read it in order to answer those questions. Don't we need our inferencing knowledge in such questions? We definitely do. And finally, on my own questions. These questions do not require the students to have read the passage, but he or she must use their background or prior knowledge to answer them. The on my own questions are, in a sense, the higher order thinking strategies in Bloom's taxonomy, such strategies like evaluating and creating. The questions might be something like, how would you feel if? DRTA stands for Directed Reading and Thinking Activities. In this approach, students relate background knowledge to the text, determine goals for reading, and then engage in predicting activities at set stopping points throughout the text. What do teachers do in each part? In the direct part, teachers ask open-ended questions to direct learners' thinking and help them with their questions to predict what the passage is about. This is done through surveying, looking at the pictures, the heading, subheadings, graphs, charts, if there are any, and so on. For example, the teacher says, given this title, what do you think the passage will be about? Reading. In the reading section, remember I told you that the teachers read the passage beforehand and find some pause points? Well, here is how it helps. Students read up to the first pre-selected stopping point. The teacher then prompts the students with questions and specific information and asks them to evaluate their predictions and refine them if necessary. This process should be continued until students have read each section of the passage. So you see, they're monitoring the reading and predicting. Next, thinking. At the end of each section, students go back through the text and think about their predictions. Students should verify or modify their predictions by finding supporting statements in the text. Excuse me. The teacher asks questions such as, what do you think about your predictions now? Or, what did you find in the text to prove your prediction? Or what did you read in the text that made you change your predictions? Now, some of these questions are familiar to you as we did them in our previous activities. On the next slide, we will have a cross-section of one sample lesson and the link to a story lesson plan. I will also share it, but not here because I can't do it right here. I'll share it with you on Google Classroom. Now I promise I'll include this on your Google Classroom. This is a lesson plan based on DRTA, and I'll also share a link to the book, which is Mr. Blueberry, I think. Reciprocal teaching refers to an instructional activity in which students become the teacher in small group reading sessions. Now, teachers model, then help students learn to guide group discussions using 4 strategies. Once students have learned the strategies, they take turns assuming the role of a teacher in leading a dialogue about what has been read. Before reciprocal teaching can be used successfully by students, they need to have been taught to practice the 4 strategies that are used in reciprocal teaching. These 4 strategies are summarizing, questioning, predicting, and clarifying. Now, one way to get students prepared to use reciprocal teaching is prepared by Donna Dyer, which is as follows. You can see all these steps. You can pause the video and read to see what teachers can do when they are employing this approach to teaching reading. Thank you very much for watching. Please take care of yourselves and your families. I will send you the assignments on Google Classroom. Goodbye.